Yay. All right. Welcome to the Poetry Book Club. I'm Lisa Zoneveld, and I am sharing the screen. We're going to read this to you. We envision a world where all women are seen and heard. Our community practices deliberate conversations, sociocratic decision-making, and collective projects for the benefit of all engaged members. We share wisdom through book clubs, kitchen table talks, free and paid courses, and collaborative work. Our simple rules are respect all the spaces, be curious, ask questions, support women's agency, be open to life's infinite possibilities. Welcome to the Garden of Neuro Institute Poetry Book Club. Yay! And today our feature author is Lindsay Soberano Wilson with her book, Hoods of Motherhood. If anybody has the book, hold your book up. We can show it off. All right.
Oh,
Lindsay, you don't have the book? I hope did you sell out? Yay. From a publisher standpoint, yay. Yes, I'm biased. Prolific Pulse Press, which is my publishing company, published this wonderful book. And I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Raise your hand if you've read the book.
I've not read it.
I read it probably 30 times now because I'm editor. Well, welcome everybody. We're so glad to have Lindsay here today and glad to welcome everyone else. If we could just quickly go around the room and just introduce yourself and where you're from. I'm Lisa Zoneveld. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, where it's hotter than you know where. And we're glad when we get some rain. And I'll point at Robin to go next.
I am Robin, and I'm from Alberta, Canada. And
Thank you.
cool, but kind of hot, depending.
Good. Good for you. I'm glad. Annette.
I'm Annette Riddle. I'm from Wyandotte, Michigan, lately of Georgia and Minnesota and Florida. And I recently moved here and joined Garden.
Thank you, Annette. Nolcha.
Hey, my name is Nolcha Fox. I'm in Buffalo, Wyoming, where it rained most of the day yesterday, and it's now 59 degrees.
Lovely.
I'll send some
Jealous.
rain.
Please do. Ronnie?
Hello, I'm from the States, most recently California and Arizona, and presently I am in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's the 6th week that we've had consistent daily rain. Maybe we've had 3 or 4 brief, short days of semi-sun. So Noah's Ark is going to be considered soon if it continues.
Tina. Uh-oh, Tina froze up a little bit. Tina, I can't hear you.
Oh, why did she freeze?
Yeah. How about we do
Can
you,
you hear me?
Nancy? Oh, there we go. Yeah, now we can.
There. Is that?
Yeah, you're kind of
I'm
freezing
Tina,
up a little bit.
No, yeah, my internet connection's not so great. I don't know why. Probably because it's so hot. I'm from Tacoma Park, Maryland, and I really enjoyed reading your book, and I look forward to this discussion. And thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
Hi, Nancy Arvizu, Scottsdale, Arizona, where it is hotter than anywhere else you guys are at. I'm sorry, but and I'm so looking forward to this. These book club meetings, these poetry book club meetings are always so wonderful and just inspiring. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lindsay Soberano Wilson.
Yes.
Where are you from?
Well, I was born and raised in Toronto, but we did start our family in Vaughan, just outside the city. And then I guess we just had to keep moving north because now we are in Barrie, a little bit more outside the city. And yes, I am happy to be here today.
Thank you, Lindsay. So I would like to open up a discussion. If some people may have questions, feel free to jump in. I explained to Lindsay, we're pretty casual, pretty laid back group. We just like to know everything about the author, about the writing process, about the book, and hear beautiful poetry. So if anybody has a particular question they'd like to just jump in with, go right ahead.
Okay, I'll start. So first, why don't you give us a brief summary of what the book is, but not just what it is, where it came from you.
Yes. Well, being the granddaughter of Spanish Moroccan immigrants and Romanian Holocaust survivors, right? Becoming a mom, family values, all that has always been very important, right? And obviously going through the journey and experience myself, I had so much to learn, right? Especially between making it my own and bringing forth all the beauty and wonderful things I was taught. But with that being said, also learning to, move away from some of the things that may not be, for me, right? So I guess what I would have to say is I did start writing the book when I had my first son, right? In about 2010 is when I gave birth to my first son. And at that time, I really wasn't writing very much. It was just at night, maybe between feeds when I was inspired, right? And I have to say that the first poem of the book and the last poem of the book, they were one poem. They did start as one poem. I did work them a lot, and then they ended up being the start of the book and the end of the book. So that was something interesting that I really did want to share. But of course, part of the journey was also me exploring all the hurt, having to face my struggles with infertility. So that are some of the poems of the recurrent miscarriage. So I guess in a sense, the last thing I would say is I do believe I did it with intent, but I also feel like it was, a call, right? Like a lot of us always do feel. But I do have to say that definitely the writing helped me with the pain.
Thank you. Lindsay, of course, I've had the privilege and honor of working closely with you on this book. And one of the things that we really worked a lot on, and I loved it. I love collaborating with people, working with them on these things, the cover design. Can you tell the group about what inspired this particular design that we ended up with? Because it's both the front and the back cover have a story. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So, I think we did definitely have an idea, right, in the back of our minds of some kind of maze, right, journey, because there are several poems that, allude to the image of the maze. But it wasn't, the idea was still kind of coming together. And then I discovered the back cover image, right, of this little girl in a pure white dress of innocence, kind of entering the garden, right? And when I was young, when I was about 2, I was a flower girl in my aunt's wedding. And I remember just what an amazing experience it was. And being a little girl, how we think of weddings and being the flower girl and stuff. But then at the same time, of course, our journey of what being a mom is, what being a woman is, what being a mother is so much more complex, right? We all know. And so, yes, I think the, front image of the woman overlooking the maze, the little girl entering that kind of maze, so to speak, and then coming out kind of, empowered, right? In that red dress and the little cap, the graduate cap, reflecting kind of all the hoods we wear, all the hats we wear, the milestones that we cross, and overall just trying to explain how part of the process of becoming a mom is always also finding your self-worth, because as you're a new mom or even a new wife, so much of us, or at least I did, question ourselves. Am I doing this right? Will I ever be worthy of that cap? And so that was also kind of part of the story behind the cover and the back cover.
Thank you. Does anybody else have questions?
I had a question. It's not specifically related to any specific piece of your writing, but from your writing, I wondered if you grew up with an extended family to help with your child rearing experience, your motherhood experience, because I find that a lot of women in my age group moved away from their roots and their origin, and then relied on friends and family, and not family, but friends and community to help raise children, especially if you had older parents. And rather than younger ones, and I'm finding this generation, my son's generation, he'll be 40. He has a group of very close friends, of 8 friends since they were in elementary school, and they're mostly still in this area. And all of the grandparents are nearby. It's such a different parenting and motherhood experience for them than it was for us. And I was wondering what yours was like.
Yeah, I guess maybe there's some pain in that, because it did start out very holistic in the extended family and the help. Yeah, things got a little more complicated. And then, of course, being a mom of young boys throughout COVID, right? Losing that global village and stuff, and having to sometimes rely on just myself or what my husband could do or what the kids could do. So yes, I think overall I was definitely blessed to have the grandparents involved when the kids were young, and be available. And but of course, because of the pandemic, having to kind of face that reality of doing it on your own was definitely difficult, because as I was a child, I wasn't just raised by my family, right? I was raised by aunts, by uncles, by cousins, by friends, by the street, right? And so I think that sadness, of those few years where it was more on my shoulders was difficult. So yeah.
Well, I especially like that because I love the poem Delirium that you wrote. It's not one of your longer poems, but I love how it goes. The night runs into day and the day runs into night, especially when you have no more fight, which to me is such a really captures that feeling of the overwhelmed feeling, the kind of lost feeling of being a mother and not really knowing what's at the end of all this. You're just trying to get through the next hour, the next hour, the next hour, and maintain composure. So I didn't know, and I would think during COVID that might have been especially poignant.
Yes, thank you for pointing out that poem. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Lisa, you're muted. We're all so polite and mute, and then we catch ourselves here. We're all so polite. It's lovely.
I was wondering if you'd like to share a poem with us.
Sure, yes, thank you. I haven't shared with everybody yet that I have a big trip this summer. I earned a scholarship for Canadian teachers for Holocaust studies in Yad Vashem, Jerusalem, and Tel Aviv. And when I was younger, I traveled quite a bit in my 20s to find my roots and identity. And so I did visit Israel in different capacities in my 20s. One time I volunteered on a kibbutz, another was a tour, and the last I was trying to regain some knowledge of Hebrew that I had lost when I was younger. So I guess what I wanted to say today is I feel compelled to share one of my poems first from my first chapbook. And then later I was going to share 2 female-centered poems from Hoods of Motherhood. So the one poem it's been on my mind is called Deliverance, and it's from the chapbook that I published in 2021, Casa de mi Corazon. And it just kind of takes you into the city of Jerusalem and some of the things I was thinking at that time. So here it is. It is called Deliverance. As I walked out of the subway exit, I thought I heard prayers, the kind that would seep out of stained glass windows in the old city of Jerusalem, serenading the doves and the stray cats. I envisioned the prayers scribbled on notes, clutched in sidors, running through thoughts, fighting to take flight like an eagle soaring east through sound waves, waving a wave of energy, blessing her thoroughly. But then I realized it was just the wind tunnel, funneling unaddressed messages that had become mute and impotent, yet howling the unspeakable, pushing them from our parched lips, filling us with the hope of the unutterable word. But like a mediator failing to mediate, the prayers fall into a lifeless heap of leaves, forming a vacuum that inhales our souls into a brown paper bag that chokes us. What of the prayers, you ask? Maybe they were stolen because they just aren't moving. They just aren't churning, but strewn across the sand like sea creatures feeding at the bottom of the Red Sea, unable to spell peace. Thank you. And I guess, the reason that poem's been on my mind so much is, Jerusalem is a beautiful, beautiful city. But even in those few visits with the in between around, late 90s to about 2004, I could see the changes that had taken place. And so in thinking of returning again and noticing that I'm going to be up for a big shock after 20 years, the poem was kind of singing in my head. So I wanted to share that today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm putting the link into your web.
Oh yeah, perfect. I see that. Thank you. Oh, whoops, you're muted.
Oops.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So you are on Medium, and a lot of people in the garden are on Medium. Can you tell us a bit about your publications on there?
Yeah, so I just love Medium, and I have to say, being part of the literary world, quote, whatever you want to call it, unliterary world as they have it, right? I think it's the secret to my success, to be honest. You know what? I did tell you guys all that I used to write when I was inspired, right? Only during COVID did I find some discipline. And to be honest, once I started writing on Medium and found a community, I felt like, wow, look, I'm writing for my audience. And I found I wrote more. In any case, I did join first the iPoetry community on Medium. And I, forged some relationships there. And once I did that and realized like, hey, I can do this, I was inspired to come up with my own publication. So the publication is called Put It to Rest. And the idea there is that it asks people to explore any personal stories through personal essay or poetry to, put the story to rest, quote unquote. And I just really do believe in seeing kind of writing as therapeutic. And so I encourage writers to do that. And in general, it's taken off. And I did meet a lot of other writers from our writing community here as well. Rebecca Hers, for instance, was a writer. I Put It to Rest. And then that's actually how I learned about the prolific Pulse Press community. So I just think it's amazing to, get out there, become part of different writing circles. And I really love and appreciate Medium, and I hope to see you all there if I haven't seen you already.
Thank you. Oh, I've been published and Put It to Rest. Was looking for a place for a long time for that particular one. So I'm so happy to be able to put it there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raise your hands, y'all, if you're on Medium. Say about half of us are on there, so that's pretty good. Actually, they made a little over half, so that's really great. Okay. Would you like to read us another poem?
Sure, yes. You know, another interesting thing about Medium is the inspiration it's had for me in terms of talking about women's sexuality, right? I mean, Medium, everybody really is very outspoken. So I am feeling inspired, yes, to read some poetry that challenges the way we think of women's sexuality. So the first poem is called Sex Miseducation, and it goes like this. They will have you teetering on the tightrope of fear before they tell you anything real, before they prepare you for a miscarriage, before they prepare you for a negative pregnancy test, before they prepare you for a stillbirth, before they prepare you. Before they prepare you, they will have you teetering on the tightrope of fear. Before they tell you how or that you can enjoy yourself. No, that's not spoken about. No, pleasure does not exist. Don't speak of it. Don't name it. Don't think of it. Don't dream it. Don't be it. And certainly don't do it. So they will have you teetering on the tightrope of fear before they tell you what it's like, or where to get an abortion, or how to know if you want one. No, that's not for you. That's for them, and that's a sin. We don't talk about that or this or this or that, and that's a fact. That's a matter of fact. We don't like that. You don't want to be that. That's that. That's a matter of fact. Fact. Yeah, I mean,
Excellent.
thank you. You know, I think that poem has some anger outlet there, right?
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions? I see some things coming up in chat. Dina says it resonates, and yeah. Okay. Well, we'll always welcome another poem.
Perfect. Yes.
I just want to say about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It was it last week? Last time we did should, and we were all getting shoulded on and that. I like that. That was really good. I really like it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, wasn't there that time, you know, in the 90s, everybody was writing poems with isms, I think, too, right? Yeah. Yes, so the next poem actually has an interesting story. So it is entitled Keep Theology Out of Our Biology. And this was one of the poems that, you know, happened to be shared on Medium first, and it got a lot of attention. And I was really happy that I submitted it to a online virtual art gallery, Women Made Gallery in the US. And it was kind of part of the series as well there. And it was not paid, and it was for anyone. It could have been just anonymous submissions, but I obviously as a writer submitted with my name on it. So here we go. Keep theology out of our biology. Keep theology out of our biology. These body politics have me thinking of all the riots that flew by us. Somehow we surpassed, that then came back like a snag on a pashmina. But it's my uterus, snagged by father patriarchy, suffocating mother matriarchy, redefining autonomy, telling us what should and shouldn't be a part of me, and how it's not my body to own. That somehow, whether viable or non-viable, we are primed to be handmaids, sewing the threads of our submission, held hostage by the commander, commanding policies found in newsprint, running and smudging, fading and staining, like rationed coffee beans, somewhere in my great aunt's basement. Keep theology out of our biology. Thank you.
Love that one. Love that so much. Thank you for reading that. Robin had a question. She wanted to know when you started writing.
Yeah, it really is interesting because, I really do have a typical writing story. I really did start young, keeping diaries and journals. My mom would buy me my diaries and I would write in them, and they were my lifesaver from a very busy, chaotic household. And, then when I was a teenager, so I guess the diaries and journals, of course, yes, came first. So the actual poetry was, yes, as a teenager, when the diary entries just turned into poems, right? And for the most part, I used to just write in my diaries, handwritten, and I would just do that for years. And then I guess by the time I was maybe trying to get the Hoods of Motherhood together is when I stopped, I guess, writing by hand and then drafting on the computer, and then, drafting on my notes and putting on the computer and coming away from the journal. But maybe this summer I shall bring a journal with me, right, guys?
I expect after your summer journey, you'll probably be creating another book. I can just imagine the experiences that you're getting ready to have. Do you have kind of that idea in the back of your mind?
I guess it's, well, I do know that while I'm there, I will have the opportunity, being at the Yad Vashem Center, to do more research on my Bubby Toby's Holocaust survivor story. So she was in the ghettos of Transnistria. So yes, when I'm there, I do want to do more research for her story. And then in terms of actual ideas for future projects, yeah, I think I'll just kind of, let myself be the writer, right?
Yeah, you're up for a big adventure coming up. I'm looking forward to. When you get back, you may have to come back on and tell us all about it. The travels of Lindsay.
Oh, yes, and someone said in the comments, I love that your mom kept buying you diaries. I mean, yes, at times it was hard to watch women put their passions and everything second. And I said I'd never do that. And then when I started to realize maybe I was doing that, that's when I really pushed to make my goals come true, right? But I have to say that despite the fact that maybe my mother, made all the sacrifices and maybe didn't follow her dreams and passions, that she was always, yes, right there supporting me for my dreams and passions. When I wanted to go to Concordia University for creative writing, and everyone would say, what are you going to do with that? Right? She would just sit there and go, she'll figure it out. So yes.
Wonderful cheerleader. Wonderful support.
So excuse me, I have a question. So you're a poet, but you're also an editor, right?
Yes. So at the Put It to Rest on Medium, it's a small publication that I oversee there. Yes.
So my question is how do you balance doing both?
Yeah. I mean, luckily the online journal, I find, kind of goes in waves, right? It gets very busy with submissions, and other times it kind of gets quiet. And I don't know, I find my writers kind of sometimes follow my lead. And then when they don't submit as much, I'm like, hey guys, I have a prompt, right? So I think I would have to say is try to spread the wealth, right? Take a step back somewhere where I need, prioritize where I need, and kind of come back and try to get things going again when I need. Yeah, so I think that's part of also my discovery, being a high school teacher and mom as well. At one point I thought I could do it all, right, as a young mom, and that's why the book also explores a lot of those themes of being burnt out and overworking yourself, because I think it took a long time for me to figure out, wait a minute, there is no super mom. I can't do it all. I can do really great at home for a few weeks and get behind at work, or I can get forward at work and get behind at home, right? So I think just having more grace and accepting what it is I can and can't do, and asking for help was a very big step for me.
Okay. And have you found that being an editor that perhaps it's changed your poetry?
I think definitely, right? Like Lisa was saying, it's so interesting being on the receiving end. And then those small things such as, just submitting with the topic that the publication actually covers, just small things like that that might be glaring, definitely hit you in a different way. Because then you say to yourself, hey, wait a minute, right? Do they really know what my publication is all about? And so I think it has helped. Yes, helped me look at things a bit more objectively. But of course, I have so much more to learn. And I think being on a journal that has, hard and fast deadlines, for example, will teach me a lot more. And I was considering maybe joining the Fine Lines Journal community and helping with some editing there. And of course, having deadlines to meet will definitely change the game, I believe.
Thank you.
Robin was asking about family support from your partner for your writing.
I guess like at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone else can ever really know how it's important to me, I definitely have the support, right? But I guess what I would say is, given all the changes we've had in life the past few years with the pandemic and COVID, it's been hard, right? I think that the more financial security everybody has, right, the more support everyone can give. So yes, I think the support's been there, but the stress with the pandemic has made it a little difficult. But overall, I'm really grateful. He drives me all around the city to all the book launches and events. I don't know what I would do. Like, how do you have energy, right, to then go perform after driving yourself all around the city and parking? I'd be done. I'd be like, I'm ready for a nap now. So you know what? I know we all talked about love language, and his acts of service are amazing. And I always say thank you. But for whatever reason, my love language is not acts of service.
Well, as one who has a husband who really doesn't read poetry except for poems, he'll read my poetry, but he doesn't like to read anybody else's. But he's such a good sport to go to events and kind of be that person that I know is my person. But yeah, that means a lot. And like you say, financially supportive makes a big difference too. Absolutely. Anybody else have questions? I
Oh,
see
yeah.
somebody pointing at the chat. Let's see. Wonder how you balance public events with the private self as a writer.
Yes.
From Tina.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's definitely something I've thought of. And I think I just have to think about it more, right? But it's interesting, isn't it? Because we want to be vulnerable and honest and raw, but we also, of course, have these private lives to guard. So yeah, I think I've been exploring that a little more and how to navigate it. But I would say that overall, I try to remind myself that sharing my vulnerability, is a good thing. And then another respect, I guess I guard certain things. I mean, a lot of my media is now public, but I've kept Twitter not public because I find that's definitely the platform that as soon as I hit public, like all my images, all my poems, everything is everywhere. It's like a mess. So I think that is the one place I'm not going to go public. Yes.
Understandable. Let's see. Someone was asking, how do you advise someone just starting off? That was from Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, I really think I do just encourage people to find various writing communities, right? And also just to write about anything, right? Even if you don't think it's amazing, just to stick with the process and the idea that we know sometimes the good stuff comes right in the middle of all the bad garbage stuff we're writing, right? So yes, I think encouraging people to branch out to writing communities and just write is something that I often say. And then the last thing, of course, is I lately have been pushing myself to get out more. In Toronto, there's a Buddies in Bad Times theater, LGBTQ community theater downtown, and they've been hosting open mics. And I went to one in June, and it was really nice, and I met a few younger writers there. And some of them were kind of asking, and I was just letting them know, them being here, that they're, you know, doing the right thing already, right?
Absolutely. Do you have some budding writers in your family or your sons, any of them showing some writing interest?
I know it's such an interesting question because you know what? When I was younger, my dad had a few Khalil Gibran books, right? He was the guy who liked the poetry in the house, my father. And he would write a little. He wrote my mom a poem for her wedding, whatever. But I was, he has a poetic heart. And then, yeah, my grandfather was always a writer. So we have a family of writers, teachers, and salesmen. And then, so yes, I was thinking about my kids, and I think maybe the middle guy, perhaps, you know, because he's very in touch with his emotions. And he's right now he's 9. So I did find the diary from the eldest, because the eldest had the diary around his age and he used it. And I said to the eldest, are you going to take this to camp? Are you going to use it? And I was encouraging it, but I really wasn't getting anywhere. And I was like, okay. So the middle guy took over his diary after the eldest read it to him, but they got a kick out of it. I think as soon as the eldest read the diary entries from the past, and the middle guy could see, wait a minute, this is actually hilarious. And now, yes, Tyler, my middle son, did just start writing in his journal for the summer. So I think that's nice. And I have my eyes on Tyler. He's definitely my my guy.
All right. That's wonderful. Let's see. Annette asked, you mentioned you started in Medium. From what publications did you publish in next, or what journals?
Yes. Well, I guess I started during COVID, kind of coming out in Medium. And at Medium, I really got a lot of support from Age of Empathy there, the editor Amy Gramblin, who also wrote an advanced review in Hoods of Motherhood. And as well, I started with iPoetry a lot, with the writers there. And then I kind of joined Scribe on Medium as well. They're very big. And generally in terms of just journals outside of Medium, I was, you know, happy to be part of the Fine Lines Journal. And I've done some publications with Scribe as well. And some other kind of anthologies and whatnot, but I am trying to branch out, see what I can get into in some of the Canadian journals. There's a call right now for women, life, freedom, for Iranian women, on the topic of women's rights. So I've been trying to kind of see what I can, you know, get into as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, Lindsay, would you like to take us out with a poem?
Sure, that would be nice. Thank you. You know, I think I will end with just, yes, the last poem of the book, you know, because I think I'm just on this journey that the poem ends with. So the last poem is called The Wise Mother. Mother in the hood, don't despair, even though you don't think you don or own the wear. It's your hood, what you make of it, what you take of it, what you give to it. This picture right here, this is me. I call this motherhood. Tired eyes, so dry and hazy, heart so full yet so shaky. From all the adrenaline, I convert into energy to nurture those under my hood of protection, nowhere near perfection. Mother in the hood, don't despair. It's all yours to wear. Sometimes it fits snug beyond compare. Other times it gives you a tug or a hug or falls to your feet. Old and tattered and incomplete. Until you sew it back together again and then again and yet again, leaving your fingers bleeding, punctured, and bruised, and yet able to play again and again and yet again. I called this motherhood until I learned how to also be a mother to myself. Just like Mother Nature, instead of plundering from myself, I gave back to myself. And only then did I learn how to mother and heal my inner child to peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on here today. Best wishes with your journey this summer. Hope to hear from you soon after you get back. A little commercial for what's happening in the garden. Just remind people of the talk, the vital expressions and conversations by families of color. Recommend this book highly. We started a Facebook group based on the talks we have going into future talks. So if people are interested in that particular group, it's a group, it's progressive about, ways that we can keep the conversation going and how we can help people feel they're not alone in this world, and find ways to support anti-racism and, make a difference in this world. It's definitely a passionate project. Next month, Carla Cherry will be presenting, another school teacher. Get the school teachers in the summertime. She'll be talking about Clap Your Hands, Stomp Your Feet, this little bitty chapbook. I think it's got 12 poems in it. It's absolutely adorable. It's got little pictures in it and everything. And I will be putting up a post with a link and everything. And I did get, it's only like $6. I can't go wrong, right? But anyway, just letting y'all know what's coming next month. And Nancy, did you have something? You want to go off mute?
Yes. Lisa and I talked about doing some poetry in August. So we have some ideas rolling out in August. We've also, we have the volume 3 of A Safe and Brave Space happening. And some of you have published in this volume before. We were going to open that in August. Pratibha, our project manager on this, asked if we could start it in September. And so for September, October, we'll be working on submissions for this project. This is not just poetry, it's also art. So if I could pull up a picture real quick, we do it so it's black and white art so that you can color it. So we'll be doing that. And then we're also going to have a second poetry anthology happening too, a volume 1, Splashes of Poetry. So we have a lot of poetry submissions going on in the garden, a lot of events. We'll do workshops, we'll do open mics. The open mics are the best. I just love doing those. So I hope to see all your faces there. Bring your best, bring your best. And Lindsay, thank you. This has been really wonderful. I'd like to have you back to talk about your social media work that you do, because you are everywhere, girl. You are nailing that. So that I think would really help all of us in what we all do and bring our stuff out there too. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed spending this time with you and all the engaging questions. And you're just a lovely group, and I look forward to coming back.
Thank you. Thank you. Nolcha Fox is going to be talking about submitting. We're going to get her nailed down to do a little workshop talk. We just kind of railroaded her into that this morning.
I think I volunteered.
Yeah, I think you did. Like I say, we're all volunteers anyways. Nancy reminds me of that sometimes. Remember, we're volunteering here. That's how you keep from burning out. Also, just that you brought up something, Nancy, to me. I forgot about the Sealy challenges in August. That's read a
Had a
poetry
name
book
for
a
it. I
day.
just couldn't think of it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the Sealy challenge is read a poetry book for each day in August. So I will be posting some things in the garden about that, about, you know, how you can get linked to the website and the social media and that. And it's just a lot of fun. I cheat. If I read 20 pages out of a really thick book, I call it done. So, but you know, a book, you know, like it's like 100 poems, then I will read the whole book. Okay, you know, but yeah, I've got some pretty fat ones, and I think I should get credit for trying. So, I'm a fast reader, but not that fast. Well, thank you all so much. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Write some poetry and keep your eye out. There's going to be a pop-up poetry workshop, and you never know when I'm going to drop one. So
Right.
have a
Thank
good
Thank
one.
you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.